Hey, it's Amy Brown from The Bobby Bone Show. Join me in supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital for a chance to win a trip to meet Megan Maroney at the 2025 iHeart Country Festival in Austin, Texas on May 3rd, hosted by Bobby Bones. We're going to hook you up with tickets, flights, hotel, food credits, and a meet and greet with Megan Maroney. Take action now to support St. Jude and help cure childhood cancer, and you're going to be entered for a chance to win. Visit iHeartCountryTrip.com to learn more.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third episode of Crime Over Wine, the only podcast with head-scratching true crime stories that are just better over a bottle of wine. I'm your host, Liam Collins, and this week I have a very special guest co-host. He is a meteorologist, a comedy king on Twitter, and also a dog dad of two, so we love him for that. My guest co-host this week is Blaze Keller. Hello, Blaze. How are you doing?
Hello, you are too nice. A comedy king on Twitter. We're just lying now to people. I see.
I figured if I wasn't nice to you off the bat, then you would hop off at some point.
I was going to say this podcast episode's super short.
There you go. So Blaze is a meteorologist at WKOW, the ABC affiliate in Madison, Wisconsin, which is just a little colder right now than it has been in Chattanooga, I would probably guess.
Maybe just like a little. I don't know, though. I mean, temperature-wise, we kind of got back up there. We might be on par with y'all as of now.
Yeah, we're I think this week, this is being recorded in middle of January. I think we're in the 65 range, I think, today after that cold snap.
Oh, okay, we're still at 30. So.
Oh, yeah. No.
A little bit.
No.
If I did math, a little bit cooler.
I am out of bed and out of hibernation, so it's at least 40 degrees outside.
Oh, is that your threshold?
That's my threshold. I don't leave the house if I can see my breath. I don't leave the house.
You would have a really hard time here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good you don't work up in here. Boss being Liam.
Well, I grew up in New York, and so I am very familiar with the cold, and I very much so don't live there for a very good reason.
Hey, I understand. I think I'm just doing this like Stockholm syndrome myself, just living in cold.
Fair enough. Well, you're used to it. You grew up in Idaho, Iowa, right?
Idaho? No, I grew up up the road from where I'm at right now. Idaho?
Oh, no, Iowa. I am in Iowa.
If I grew up in Idaho, I would welcome all my friends with a fresh sack of potatoes. Hello.
So why don't we get into our wine part? That's my favorite part of this podcast. So this week's wine is Chateau Ste. Michelle's Dry Riesling. And if you've been listening to the first two episodes of this podcast, I'm all about the dry part. It's from the Columbia Valley. They say this wine pairs well with mild cheeses, salads, and fresh seafoods. Okay.
Yes. If it's a white wine and it's not with a seafood, we've got questions, we've got comments, and we've got concerns.
Fair enough. See, I don't like seafood. I'm not shrimp, fish,
a pescatarian.
Yeah, no, that's not me. I do. The only time I ever really drink white wine to pair with food is chicken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Unless there's a red sauce to go with it, in which case, red.
Your I think East Coast accent came out there. The sauce. Okay, I love that for you. I'll let you have that. I don't know. I like seafood from time to time.
All right, let's pop this bad boy open.
Use those muscles that I can see.
Yeah, no, it's not happening. Oh. Okay, got it. Yeah, also, as you can see, I'm in my closet because this is the only room in my house that doesn't sound like I'm in an echo chamber. So
I mean, I'm in my bedroom.
Yeah.
As you can see with my stuffed animals.
Well, it's just not super conducive to wine. I'm I have my laptop on my dog's crate. So
okay. So we're roughing it today.
yeah, a little bit. We're not like gourmet dinner kind of wine tasting. Like we are in the midst of my shirts and my ties.
Oh, right.
That's where we're at.
We're a step above the Franzia bag.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, basically. All right, so cheers to you, Blaze. Thanks for coming on this week.
Of course. Thank you for having me. There is something just really nice about a dry, sharp wine.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do red.
Yeah, I do love red more than anything. Yeah, that's my thing. Because you know what, like white wine, I feel like I'm like ready to go, like I'm ready to rumble. Red, like whenever I drink wine, like I want to be unwinding for the night. Like I want to be like done. And red wine, just like give me a glass and I'm.
But white,
yeah, white. We're
going
ham. See, that's like invite me to a wedding and like I'm drinking white wine all night long because I'm the king on the dance floor.
Gotcha. Okay, I see now.
Yes.
You start dancing here in the middle of this podcast, I know why.
Right.
It's not just
exactly.
out of nowhere. Okay.
Exactly. So, Blaze, let's say we get to our story for today.
Yes.
Let's do it. So, have you ever heard of this before? It's kind of a crazy... I had never heard that this was even a thing, but like the more I read about it, the more I was like, this is bonkers.
No, you sent me a link and I wanted it to be very raw for you. So I only saw the headline. And that's it. So no, I didn't know anything from that headline either.
So Blaze, today I'm going to peel back the curtain behind what happens after some of us die. Thousands of well-meaning people were bamboozled when they or their loved ones signed up to help out countless more people to donate their body to science, only for their last dying wishes to be blatantly ignored. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of the Biological Resource Center, better known as the Arizona Chop Shop. In 2013, Jim Stauffer likely thought he was doing the best he could. His mother, Doris, was suffering from dementia and probably assumed the end was coming sooner than he'd like it to. So when she died, he wanted to make the tragic ending of her life mean something so much more than what her life had been plagued by. He wanted his mother's terrible illness to help countless more people any way he could. He was going to donate her brain to science in hopes that it would help find a cure for Alzheimer's. So at the recommendation of one of his mother's nurses, he called the Biological Resource Center, and they were there within an hour of her death. He signed all of the necessary paperwork and was promised a free cremation to go along with it. He even checked a box that specifically did not allow her body to be used in military experimentation. Now, Blaze, I can't imagine how many boxes there were for possible experiments that when you donate your bodies to science, but my guess is, I haven't seen like the specific form, my guess is that he checked more than just that one, but that does seem very specific and also very important to the story, so remember that.
I was going to say, that to me is a foreshadowing.
Just a little bit.
But yeah, I just assumed that like when you die and you surrendered your body, it was just like, here you go. But I guess there's a lot more checks to that. Okay. Logging.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense. Like, it's such a intimate thing, you know, that you would want to have it be, for a very specific cause. And if you wanted it to be for whatever, then like you can have it be for whatever. But if you also wanted it to be for a very specific thing, then you should have that right to do.
Right. Very interesting. I'll have to remember that when I die.
There you go. We're getting very dark here on Crime Over One. So Jim let his mother go, and he had no idea what specifically his mother would be used for, but he did know he wanted her to be used in Alzheimer's research, like we said. And 10 days later, he received his mother's cremated remains in the mail. I've never had to make this decision, thank goodness, but I would guess it's pretty hard, especially like an hour after your mother dies, but I'm sure he helped reassuring himself that he was doing the right thing and that his mother's death would be a blessing in disguise. But I feel very confident that if he knew what was happening thousands of miles away, literally as he spoke, he would have made a completely different decision. So before I get there, I did do a little research on body donation. Organ donors need to meet a whole lot of criteria to be able to donate organs, but there are almost no limits for people who want to donate their bodies to science. organ donations are also usually higher priority because they can have immediate life-saving effects, right? You donate your heart to somebody, and that can immediately save somebody's life if they need that right then and there. In fact, organs need to be used within 24 hours of death. Body donors, on the other hand, can register with a specific program before or even after they die. The Mayo Clinic also says people can be denied to donate their bodies if they have certain diseases like HIV or hepatitis, or if they are extremely emaciated or obese. They can also be denied if the body was mutilated or if it's extremely decomposed.
Interesting. I don't know, this is going to sound really stupid, but I figured that once you're dead, like they would just take your body for like, okay, we need to test you, or like we'd like to test something on your dead body. I guess I didn't realize that it had to meet. My body's never going to be donated then. This husk of a body. Good luck.
So getting back to where we were before, thousands of miles away from Phoenix, a federal investigation was just heating up while Doris's body was being transported to the Biological Resource Center. In Detroit, Michigan, it was tied back to a 2011 border stop. Arthur Rathburn was stopped while trying to cross the border into Canada. And I've never crossed the border by car, but I know you're from Wisconsin, so I don't really know what that process is like. So maybe you know, and you can kind of fill it in on what this kind of entails. You've never been?
Nope. But I would imagine from what I am just conjuring up in my mind. I mean, I bet they like obviously check your car thoroughly because you can't just like bring stuff over. But I don't know. I mean, the only thing I've seen is through film, and that's at the Mexican border. I've actually never seen.
Well, have you ever seen Good Girls?
No.
Okay, so Good Girls, and this is like we're not sponsored by Good Girls by any means, but this is kind of what I picture. Like they are like a bunch of moms like going through in like a minivan, and they like literally have to like turn open the seats, like pull up the hood, like do all this stuff. And so, again, like, I know Hollywood isn't real life by any means, but, like, that's kind of what I picture. So, I don't know. I mean, but then I also hear all the time about people getting stuff across the border, like, so easily. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's really not that hard.
I don't know. You know what? I will go right now.
Okay.
And I'll come back and I'll let you know.
Okay, well, intermission, Blaise is going to Canada, we'll be right back. So, for whatever reason, Border Patrol agents search Arthur's car, and what they find changes everything. They found 10 human heads.
You know what? I'm just going to go on like a little left bar here. If you're going to take illegal things over any border, why are you going through a checkpoint? Like, go off to the distance, in the woods, in the water, and risk it. Like, you're going to cross with 10 heads?
Well, and I think maybe once you like hear what comes next, like it almost makes me wonder like if he was doing it, like if he had like a legit van or something that like, you know, like for whatever reason, like he had ties and had these kind of things, but just for whatever reason, like he shouldn't have had these heads. You know what I mean? Cause like I would imagine you have to like people, like legit people, like not people who are breaking the law, like federal laws, like have to go across the border all the time. So like, how do they do it? So maybe he was trying to like do it in a way that was kind of undercover. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
I don't know what else he had in there too.
The rest of their bodies, but they were just focused on the heads.
Right. Yeah. Heads would certainly, you know, raise my eyebrows.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sure.
A little bit.
So for whatever reason, police don't arrest Arthur, at least not for good. And I can only imagine it's maybe because the feds are trying to catch a bigger fish. I read a range of reports that over the next 3 years, Rathburn would make 3 to 5 more trips across the border. And he got stopped at least one more time in 2012. In that case, police found about 100 body parts riddled with diseases, and I'm talking everything from hepatitis to HIV.
So they were like, LOL, you're good, 10 heads, whatever. Come back. Here's a bunch of bodies with diseases, but like we're also just going to turn a blind eye to that?
I guess so.
I have a lot of questions, but it also gives me confidence that I could, as a regular person,
you
cross the
too
border
can
with
also cross the border with a lot of bodies.
I mean, I'll just hold out the heads in like a bag and say,
yeah.
LOL,
Okay.
he did it.
Disclaimer, do not do what Blaze is doing. Do not do what Blaze is doing. So as far as I can tell from what I've seen, he has still not been arrested after all of these different stops. And maybe I'm just missing something, but I mean, that feels like probably cause for arrest at that point. But I didn't see anything like that. I can only imagine, again, that they're trying to go after maybe the bigger picture here. And boy, oh boy, do they end up getting it. They raided Arthur's facility in 2013, and they found hundreds of body parts, and he wasn't arrested until 2016, but his federal indictment said they found about 250 body parts that he had, quote, used chainsaws, bond saws, and reciprocation saws to dismember without taking any sanitary precautions. So my mind, as I'm sure yours is, I can tell based on your face, is just whizzing with all sorts of visuals about this.
I mean, bones are not thin. And I don't know I don't know, is his facility the one that we mentioned earlier, or is this a different facility?
So we're about to get there, but totally different place. This is in Michigan, and we're talking about the whole point of the story is in Phoenix, Arizona.
How do you not hear? Because 200 bodies, that's a lot of noise. Whatever. I'll just listen. I'm curious now.
Yeah, well, there you go. I figured you would be. There is so much more I could talk about with Arthur, and I could probably do a whole episode just on him, and I'm thinking I probably may, so let me know in the comments if you think I should. But this launched a massive federal investigation, and they were able to tie the bodies back to the Biological Resource Center in Phoenix, Arizona. So the FBI raids the facility in 2014, and what they find is so much worse than I'm sure they imagined. In the center, they found heads in buckets, coolers filled with male genitalia, and a torso with a head sewn onto it, quote, like Frankenstein.
No. Okay, so a cooler full of penises, that along with buckets and heads and buckets, and then Frankenstein, just like a sewing project. Okay, so the guy had 10 heads, and then he had a couple more bodies, and then they found 200 bodies.
Body parts.
I'm assuming that then they found, probably on this similar vein, hundreds of body parts in this research center.
So they were able to tie thousands of bodies to the facilities, and they believe the bodies spanned back about 10 years. Reuters was one of the first major outlets to report on this. They were able to make the connection between the bodies found and hundreds of families who had donated their deceased loved ones to science. And it was a Reuters reporter who called Jim Stauffer and told him what really happened to his mother after he signed her body away. Doris's body had been sold to the U.S. Army for IED experimentation, and what is told to Jim is that her body had been strapped to a chair when a detonation took place, and it was all to determine what would happen to a human body if a vehicle was hit by an IED. Now, there is no excuse for this at all, because the experiment was not what Jim had signed his mother up for at all. But what makes me so angry about this is that this was explicitly against his wishes. He disqualified at least one specific experiment that he did not want his mother's body to take part in at all, and that they just completely ignored it. And I just think if you're not going to do what the family wanted, the least you can do is not do what they specifically asked to not happen to their loved one's body.
I need a drink after that, because I couldn't imagine, as you said, being told that these people did what I specifically asked not to do. And then obviously they probably had to go into detail about what happened, right?
Right. Well, and keep in mind too, he's finding this all out from a reporter, not even investigators, not even this guy, like a reporter who probably went into that conversation assuming that he already knew about it.
I shouldn't laugh, but it's so horrible to think about that actually happening.
Well, and also too, so I read an article from Reuters too, that where apparently like he had just like broken down in tears, and
I bet.
Yeah, and his wife apparently could be heard in the background saying, you know, like, we did what was right, we did what the best we could, like you know, you did the right thing.
Well, and they gave him ashes. So like, was that just like a bit that they found, or was that somebody else? Whose ashes?
Well, so what Reuters finds out is that it's actually one of Doris's hands that I guess they saved and used for her cremated remains. So I'm sure that's like a little reassuring, but there are a lot of families though that, you know, are part of this that just are wondering still if the ashes they got back are indeed their loved ones. And I'm sure that's, you know, I can't imagine that. No. I mean, years later, you're staring at this urn that you think is bringing you closure, but you know, in reality, it could just be, you know, the bottom of the fireplace, you know?
Truly.
So Reuters discovered at least 20 other bodies were also sold to the U.S. Army without family permission at a cost of about $5,800.
Each?
The Army claims each.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Which also seems very low to me. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like if I'm going to get sold to the U.S. Army, like, you better be paying at least six figures.
See, I thought that was high.
Okay.
Let me take a drink.
The Army claims they had never received consent forms and just relied on the center's word that the families had signed the right paperwork, which seems really sketchy to me, but that's, again, different episode. This wasn't the only experimentation the center had illegally sold those bodies to, though. No, the FBI was able to tie 20,000 body parts from 5,000 bodies over 10 years to the Biological Resource Center. Most families signed up to make their loved ones' tragic deaths mean something and were promised free cremations. But now, like I said, they're not even sure if the ashes they received were indeed their loved ones. And on top of that, hundreds of people's final wishes were blatantly ignored. In one case, a veteran's body was sent to the Department of Defense, despite having grown to hate the VA for insufficient medical care. Another woman told the CBS affiliate in Phoenix that her husband's body was found in several different states.
I mean, I guess, like, I'm trying to picture myself in any of these people's shoes where, like, your parent, your spouse, sadly deceased, and you have donated their body to science to help advance, only to come to find out that they have been, as this is, a chop shop, as you said.
Yeah, like, would you regret it, or like what would your reaction be?
I think it would truly just be. I don't think I would have words, because I just. You would think that there would be some sort of like decency in taking someone's dead body and being like, okay, this is being used for science, but obviously,
right?
It sounds like this place was after money, and it sounds like they're getting a lot of money.
Yeah, right. Well, and also, like, if this is the work you do, like, you would think, like, in your most vulnerable state, right? You know, losing somebody you're obviously very close to, that you're their next of kin, that you have the ability to sign these rights away, that you would think that the person you're signing it away to understands that. Right. And, you know, and is a decent human being enough to, you know, do the one thing you ask, like, do not donate my loved one's body to be blown up. Do not donate my loved one's body to the VA. You know, it's so sad to me, because that is like, it's like, you know, I've you know, experienced, you know, death before. I'm sure you have too. And it's such a, you know, for those couple of weeks, you're just like a different human being when you lose someone that close to you. And so, like, just being taken advantage of that way, that's what gets me heated.
Well, and, you know, going back to what you said, it's this total lack of sympathy and maybe even empathy that, like, this person is in their most vulnerable. They're giving you their deceased, and you're like, LOL, okay, strap a bomb to her. I shouldn't laugh, but, well, then obviously, like, somebody had to have been, like, arrested, because how can you do this without facing any sort of like repercussions in any sense.
Well, so Stephen Gore, the owner of the Biological Resource Center, was federally indicted for this case. He was charged with fraud and operating an illegal enterprise. He said that he founded the company back in 2004 when he grew bored as an insurance broker.
Oh, okay.
Gore would later argue in court that the plaintiffs agreed to this whole situation, saying they had all signed waivers. Those same waivers offered an agreement that when their loved one's body was donated to science, it would be treated with, quote, dignity and respect. In court, Stephen argued that the actions taken did not mean that the bodies were not treated with dignity and respect, and so therefore he did end up keeping his end of the deal. But it's easy to understand how these hundreds of families disagree with that. I mean, so many of their final wishes were just simply not honored. In fact, some of them were blatantly ignored. Gore was eventually convicted by an Arizona jury in 2015. 10 families were also awarded $58 million in punitive damages.
So he got bored and was like, I'm gonna do stuff with bodies. Okay, cool.
Well, and also it just makes me think, like, okay, insurance, death. Like, how do you, like those two things, like, what qualified you to open this facility? I have a lot of questions about that jump, too.
Yeah, I would like to dig more into his upbringing, but the fact that he was only charged with fraud, I mean, I guess you couldn't get him with murder, I mean, because they're all dead, but fraud and illegal enterprise. I mean, I feel like there should be something more, but I guess in the legal stance, or legal, through the legal lens, I guess there isn't, because he obviously didn't commit murder. He didn't any homicide. Whew, well,
yeah.
Also, LOL, I could not imagine going to court and being like, yeah, I treated them with respect because, like, I thought that it was respectful. But you don't get to decide that because...
Well, and it also makes me even wonder, like, if he even knew, like, what these bodies were being, like, what was being done to them, or if he was just like, here's one, like, give me money, you know? Which, like, doesn't make it any better, but, like, it also, like... I don't know, because I would, I don't know, as, like, a human being, if you're going to still do that, like, and you're going to say, okay, yes, here's, like, a person who does not want to be blown up by the military. Okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to blow them up by the military. So, I don't know, I would, the human part of me wants to believe that he just truly ran to hard times and, like, just did this just to, make a buck, which, again, does not make it any better, but it still makes me, like, feel, like, a little bit more like he was just ignorant to what was actually happening.
So, like, why? Then why? Why did he do it?
So... There's also a part of me that says maybe this was just a really small piece of just a much bigger operation, though.
Like he was a piece of a puzzle of a bigger, like, human body part selling ring. Like
black market of bodies. Yeah, that's kind of what I picture.
Okay.
Well, also because so I keep going back to how police treated Arthur when they first caught him thousands of miles away while smuggling bodies across the border. How they knew he was doing this and let him do it for years. I feel very confident the feds were just waiting for the perfect moment to drop the hammer on the Phoenix facility to get that big fish. But I have a feeling there was an even bigger shark out there that maybe stayed under the radar even after all of this. And the reason I say that is because around the same time as the biological research facility's huge payout to the victims' families, a funeral home in Montrose, Colorado was under the federal government's eyes too. In 2018, the FBI raided the Sunset Mesa Funeral Home in Montrose, Colorado, just outside of Denver. And what agents find is an operation eerily similar to the one in Phoenix. And I feel like, again, I could do a whole separate series on this case. But to sum it up, the owners of the funeral home had been arrested in 2020 for mail fraud and illegal transportation of hazardous materials. The FBI had found that they would take in the bodies of loved ones, mutilate them, and sell them for profit. A leaked price list found that they would sell an entire body for up to $5,000, which, again, I mean, if my body is not going for at least $1 million, like, don't even bother.
Oh, see, I'm hoping for $5,000 for me.
The federal government tied the funeral home to about 36 instances where they had shipped body parts that were also riddled with diseases, hepatitis, and HIV. They would sell them to research facilities, but say they were totally clean of all of these diseases. And this detail, if you remember, Blaze, is really similar to some of the body parts Arthur was carrying. They were also disease-ridden, and I was also wondering to myself if that meant these people had these diseases before they died, or if the diseases were transported from body part to body part after they were chopped up. And I would imagine that would be probably pretty easy for these body parts to get all these diseases after they were completely mutilated, because they're all just like sitting in blood and gore and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, my husband is more on that side of science, and I think he would probably be able to tell us both. But I think it's probably a combination of both. I mean, you had to have somebody have the diseases to bring it in, and if they're not cleaning, sterilizing anything, and yeah, you put it all together, it's like you're just creating...
Mix it up.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so here's this funeral home, never burying a family member, never burying a friend.
I definitely want to be cremated, and I want them to see it happen.
Watch me burn. Okay.
Yeah, seriously. So what do you think? Do you think these cases could possibly be connected?
I mean, part of me says there can't be a huge black market. Like, it can't be a big market of human body parts. To me, it seems like it would be almost like a monopoly, if you will. Like, there's a big, you know what I mean? Like a big super center for human body parts. And then they're like the kingpin. But I don't know. I have not been looking for body parts. So I don't know.
I have zero knowledge of this realm whatsoever. Although apparently you can make some pretty big bucks, so maybe it's not a bad side gig. Podcaster, reporter, body part seller. I think that sounds like a nice ring to it.
With inflation, I've said it before. I've got bills, and they need to get paid.
Facts. Listen, you can either do an OnlyFans or you can sell body parts on the black market.
Which one? Obviously, there's a lot of bodies out there. And I feel like the OnlyFans pipeline is getting oversaturated. Everybody has an OF now.
I agree. So at some point, they're just going to turn to selling bodies. So there's nothing in between.
I will probably partake in none.
Fair.
But what about you?
So I don't know. I mean, like I definitely feel like there are all these people at the very least that like know that this is like a thing and like can get away with it kind of thing.
I guess, if you're thinking about like where are these bodies going to supply like the bigger warehouse, if you will, they've got to come from somewhere, and obviously funeral homes are going to be like your direct from point A to point B.
And then my other thought on that too is like, okay, like, so when Arthur was going to Canada, like who was he bringing those bodies to? Like, I could never find what excuse he gave. So I don't know. And I also wonder, like, okay, so like if you buy a bunch of bodies, like outside of like, okay, you're the army and like you're blowing them up, for lack of better words, I suppose. Yeah. And you're you're a legit organization experimenting on these bodies and you think you have the right access to it. Other than that, like if you're in this black market, like what are you doing with them,
Yeah, I mean, like, my only idea would be selling organs, but as you said, they're only good up to like 24 hours.
Yeah, and there's like a whole vetting process that goes with that. Like there are only like, like organizations that, do that kind of thing. And like even like you would think like if they like, for example, like I go back to like what the army said about about Doris's body, like they thought they just took them at their word, but like if they were doing like what they were supposed to be doing, then they should have been like getting the consent forms and like looking at this and like. So, like, I just, it's just weird. It's just weird. Like, I just don't know what these black market people are doing if it's not, if they're not, like, intricately involved.
It is in the same, I promise it ties in, but I was watching this Korean drama called Connect that had to do with human body part, like the black market. They would like pick people up, kill them, and like strip them of their organs, and they would like help out people who just didn't want any questions asked. Like, I've been shot, like I need, say, like my liver's failing or, like whatever it may be. And they didn't have to go to like the hospital or something. So maybe it's those for the people who just need an organ transplant quickly and they don't want to wait.
And go to the hospital. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are, I think back to the Dr. Death.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because there are like, yeah, so then there are like these, like there are these doctors who like have these like, I'm not like implementing Dr. Death in this at all, but like who have this like intricate knowledge of like how the human body works and like maybe just like operate like just outside of the law to like, make an extra buck. So like, yeah, maybe there are like these people who don't want to wait and just like, will pay the big dollars for this kind of organ. That would make a lot of sense to me.
I'm just saying, if any organ harvesters are going to be listening to this, don't take mine. I've been drinking Red Bulls and energy drinks since I was 12. My organs are bad. Don't take them. Let me die and waste away. It only reinforces that I give my body to the sharks, chum up the water when and physically watch my body get torn apart by sharks.
See, yeah, because these kind of cases always make me think about like death and what happens after I die, which is like super morbid. But like it's like I think about like I definitely don't want to get buried for sure because like termites and all that stuff. So and now I definitely don't want to get cremated because God knows what happens. If that's even what actually happened to you.
I was going to say.
So I do think I still want to be cremated, but I need my loved ones, to be there when it happens.
Write it in your will.
Blaze, thank you so much for coming on this week. I had such a great time talking with you about this case.
Guys, listening, me and Liam met through Twitter, and now we're actually talking face to face. Well,
there you go.
Yes.
So, Blaze, tell everyone where everyone can find your work online.
Wow, you're really putting me up there on that pedestal. On Twitter, my work is at Blaze M. Keller, and that's the same as Instagram. So those are really the only two that I use.
Well, I also know, because just from like watching you online, like you do obviously focus on Madison, but you also do a lot of like larger stuff too. So if you are interested in what's the weather like where you are, you can also follow Blaze and he will definitely tell you about that too. So.
I will try my best and I will give you my best forecasting ability.
Excellent. Well, Blaze, thank you again for coming on, and thank you so much for listening. We're going to put all of our sources on our website so you can read everything for yourself and probably come up with a theory or two too. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and we will see you next week for another episode of Crime Over Wine.
Proud member of the Podnuga Network.
Hey, it's Amy Brown from The Bobby Bones Show. Join me in supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital for a chance to win a trip to meet Megan Maroney at the 2025 iHeart Country Festival in Austin, Texas on May 3rd, hosted by Bobby Bones. We're going to hook you up with tickets, flights, hotel, food credits, and a meet and greet with Megan Maroney. Take action now to support St. Jude and help cure childhood cancer, and you're going to be entered for a chance to win. Visit iHeartCountryTrip.com to learn more.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.